What if I were to tell you that the date of your birth was one of the most singularly important, uncontrolled experiences in your life? That this one single date will not only drastically steer the direction of your life, but will also determine your own sense of self-worth through a series of widening ripples. Would you believe me? This series is setting out to explore the hidden pennies of our lives. The small, seemingly insignificant events which build up like pennies in a jar to change the direction of our life in ways we couldn't possibly fathom. So, let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about...
It's your birthday. Happy birthday. Doom and gloom and dark despair. People dying everywhere on your birthday.
How do you feel about your birthday? What does it mean to you? And what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about it? Is it the cake, the presents, the parties, hanging out with friends, or is it something more intangible? Most people experience some combination of both the physical structure and or the emotional highs on their birthdays. And I think it's fair to say that the pleasure we get can be directly attributed to how we celebrate. It probably won't come as a shock based around the title of this video alone, that while I have had one or two good birthday experiences, I've never really shared the fondness for birthdays and celebrations that most people seem to experience. You see, to me, my birthday isn't special. I don't look forward to it or enjoy it. It's more or less just another day, and if anything, it makes me a little sad. Now, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, nor do I think I'm in the majority, but I also know that I'm not alone. Before we dive too deep, I know that there are many different types of birthdays and different cultural meanings we impart to them, all depending on where you're from, when you're living, your socioeconomic conditions that you're both living and born into, and many, many more. But in most cultures, birthdays first and foremost serve a practical function. They serve as checkpoints in our lives, age markers that we use to symbolically show our maturity, moving from childhood to adolescence and then to adulthood. We can see more mature movies by ourselves when we're 13 and 17. We can drive at 16. We can vote at 18. Legally go to bars at 21, and we get Medicare, Social Security, and the early bird special when we're 65. And then we die. This, of course, is not to leave out other cultural milestones which mark transitions into adulthood, like the bar and bat mitzvahs, quinceañeras, the sater mawe, bullet ant initiations, the rumspringas, the traditions of the Inuit, etc. But beyond cultural maturation markers, birthdays also serve another purpose. In the modern world, we most commonly think of them as events and experiences that we're meant to look forward to. Birthdays are celebrated as a magical day, weekend, week, or, most annoyingly, month, where no expense is spared and the world is your oyster. Throwing a party, planning a day or weekend trip, going out with friends to an event or experience of some kind, all serves to make that celebration special. And when we're younger, they have an even greater impact. They serve to teach kids important and somewhat abstract concepts in ways they can understand. Concepts like love and the passage of time and appreciation, for example. And studies have shown that especially in developmental years, finding time to celebrate birthdays helps us form healthier relationships and closer personal connections, which in turn help us continue to develop beneficial thought patterns through the rest of our lives. In adulthood, birthdays not only allow us to reward ourselves for making it another turn around the sun, but to honor our accomplishments. We need these moments to celebrate and bring joy into our lives and stave off that ever-looming darkness, especially these days. And from our first to our last, these experiences are special, whether we recognize them or not. Besides, who doesn't love cake? So with all this said, how and why could I possibly dislike my birthday?
May the candles on your cake burn like cities in your wake on your birthday.
This wasn't a realization that came overnight. It built up over years. I can remember a grand total of 2 really positive birthdays in my life. The first happened when I was around 6 or 7. I just finished reading The Hobbit and fallen in love with the world J.R.R. Tolkien had built. My amazing parents knew this and put together this Hobbit and fantasy-themed birthday party. My mom made this really cool castle cake complete with a jello moat. And she took it a step further by creating a game in our backyard which reenacted the climactic scene from the book when Smaug is destroying Lake Town. She created this gigantic cutout of Smaug, which she drew onto pieces of poster board that she stuck together, complete with a hole in the underbelly of that dragon's only weakness. Starting at a little bird feeder, we'd speed around the backyard, down the incline, following a little path of cardboard, around the kiddie pool, and back up the hill until we reached a shooting stop, where we'd finally confront Smaug. There, we'd attempt to shoot a little Nerf arrow through that hole in the center of his underbelly. Needless to say, it was a huge hit, which served a dual purpose, both of being a fun game for kids to play, but also a way to tire out a group of hyperactive 7-year-olds. And overall, it made for a super special day that I still truly treasure. Until, that is, we sat down for cake. It was at this time that, in only the way that a child can, one of the little kids inadvertently shook my world to its core. In between bites of cake, one of the kids turned to me and asked when my birthday was. Me, not really thinking anything of it, I told him the truth. December 27th. And that's when hit the fan. He stopped his little open-mouthed chewing, glanced around the table, and then he scrunched up his face, and with pure and utter sincerity, he said, "You can't do that. That's cheating," before he dug right back into the cake like the little he was. Now, for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how or why this comment in particular affected me so much. But it's stuck with me even decades later, and it's only as I've been reflecting for this series that I started to put the pieces together. As mentioned, I was born on December 27th, which is smack dab between Christmas and New Year's. However, we held my party in April. The idea that someone might celebrate on a different date than their actual birthday was impossible for that little mind to comprehend. Now, you might assume that having a birthday around the holidays means that you get double the presents. I mean, it is two gigantic gift-giving events back to back, so that would make sense. More gifts, more celebrating, more fun, and a happier life. But you'd be mistaken. Anyone who has their birthday around a holiday will tell you that it freaking sucks. No matter what, you're going to be overshadowed by that event. Even more so around the end of the year during the most highly celebrated one in the Western world. Practically everyone receives gifts at or around Christmas and the holidays. And let's not beat around the bush. Gifts are one of the main things that kids get most excited about and remember on their birthdays. You see, to a child, gifts go beyond just the physical item itself. They're the literal embodiment of affection. Gifts are what they use to begin to put the pieces together and understand more concepts like friendship and love. It's a building block in their lives, and it allows even more complex ideas like compassion and empathy to manifest in their young minds. So with this in mind, if your birthday, the one day a year you're allowed to feel unabashedly special, and which helps shape your sense of self and your worldview, is around the one holiday best known for everyone receiving gifts, your birthday starts to lose a little bit of that shine, a little bit of that magic. On top of that, if money is tight, which it generally is around the holidays, the gifts you do receive won't be the same ones you've gotten had your birthday been another time of year. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that my views on birthdays are solely linked to the quality or quantity of presents I did or did not receive. What was far more impactful were the social elements and stigmas that came with having a birthday around the holidays. Why? Because holidays are for families. They're one of the few special times during the year when we make our pilgrimage home. It's where we enjoy each other's company for 3 days and then spend the rest of the time yelling at each other like we were 15 all over again. But the holidays tend to be incredibly stressful and bring out the worst in people. Everyone is exhausted from cooking, from cleaning, from traveling and work. They're stressed about money, about their crappy, abusive bosses, their moronic coworkers trying to assert their perceived dominance, all while still preparing for those final cleansing rituals at the end of the year. Honestly, it's a wonder that anyone gets out of the holidays alive. So what if someone wanted to celebrate something that wasn't Christmas or New Year's related? Their birthday, for example. You're up Poop Creek without a paddle in a concrete boat. You're the very last thing anyone wants to do during all the stresses of the holidays is deal with someone else's kid. And I get that now, even if I didn't back that.
Birthdays come but once a year, marking time as death draws near on your birthday.
By the time we're really conscious of the meaning of birthdays, we've all had years of birthday experiences to pull from. We've been to enough of them by the time we're 4 or 5 to understand what a birthday is supposed to be. We expect certain things: cake, presents, games, and if you're cool, aka if your parents are rich enough, bowling, pool parties, laser tag, and other destination type parties. These parties are something that every kid looks forward to. It's an opportunity for kids to hang out with each other outside of the classroom, and they're a ton of fun, even if they're not for us. So it's no surprise that we want to go to any and every one we possibly can. It gives us a little bit of a contact high in a weird sort of way. But looking beyond how much fun they are, it's where we start to see more complex social statuses start to emerge. It's a huge flex if your classmates and friends want to come to your birthday party, one which parents also love to play into as a means of bragging about their own parenting ability through their popular child. Because of that, and because parents understand how important these events are for their kids socially, they'll move mountains to make sure that we can spend time with our friends and to make these celebrations as memorable as possible. Even beyond the symbolic social boost birthdays provide the partygoers, the party itself is a no-holds-barred bonanza for the birthday boy and girl. It's the one time a year where we're allowed and encouraged to feel a little selfish. The entire day and experience revolves around your happiness. Everyone is there to see you, to give you gifts. Parties are catered to your particular tastes. Cakes are designed to match your interests. It all serves to give the birthday boy or girl that sense of specialness, of comfort and love that means so much to our development of self. But for myself and so many others, by the nature of being born in this inconvenient window of time, I couldn't experience birthdays in the same way as everyone else. I tried numerous times to celebrate my birthday during the holidays, but each time it failed abysmally. Everyone predictably was with their families and wanted nothing to do with me or anything else. Again, and I can't stress this enough, I do understand where they're coming from. But little 4-year-old Kit didn't. My parents, being the smart, caring people they were and are, knew that too. And they adjusted. They moved my birthday celebration to a time when it would be more convenient for other people, when they knew my friends and their families would be around to celebrate. They wanted to give me my own birthday experience, like the ones everyone else got, even if it wasn't on the exact date I was born. However, one little kid playing identitarian politics ruined that too. You see, what that little crap meant when he told me that I was cheating was that me celebrating my birthday so far from my actual birthday was a form of stolen valor. I was attacking the sanctity of the birthday tradition and taking away the specialness of his understanding of birthdays. To him, you could only logically celebrate it around your actual birthday. These were the rules and everyone knew it. In his little mind, I was being greedy and having two opportunities to show how popular I was, how special I was. And in his ignorant little mind, I was getting twice as many presents. He was the hero standing up to the bully who was making birthdays less special for everyone else. It's hard to qualify the subtle but lingering effects that something so seemingly insignificant can do to your sense of self when you're so small. You're not only trying to learn in school or trying to make friends or trying to understand increasingly complex ideas, but you're also trying to discover who you are and what's your worth in the minds of others. And birthdays are one of those big keystone events. But what that little kid didn't know was that my most special day wasn't so special. It was overshadowed and forgotten amidst the turmoil of the holidays. He didn't know that I couldn't celebrate on or near my actual birthday because it was supremely inconvenient for him and for all my friends and their families. He didn't know my actual birthday was a reminder of my inadequacies, that I had from an early age subconsciously absorbed the message that my birthday wasn't special. He didn't know that I felt ostracized and alone because of that. And he didn't know that he'd planted a seed that would lead me to further associate my birthday with something shameful. And he especially didn't understand that even when I changed everything for the convenience of others, it still wasn't good enough. So what the hell was I supposed to do? The message to me was clear. You're not good enough. He lashed out and unknowingly created a fear of celebration and praise. I wasn't special. I wasn't worthy. My existence was inconvenient. But none of that entered his mind. And I can't blame him. The idea that something so seemingly unimportant might ripple out into our lives isn't something that most people think about. Our understanding and empathy, especially as kids, flows only so far as our experience. He didn't know, and I wasn't able to verbalize, that I yearned for a normal birthday experience like the one he and every other kid took for granted. Now, with that said, and despite how this may look, I'm not angry about that anymore. You can't control when or where you're born, and I'd have to be a real asshole to get mad at people for wanting to spend time with their families during the holidays instead of coming to some kid's little birthday party. I knew it then, and I certainly know it now. But I won't lie, it hurt for a long, long time. My birthday was never really the same after that. My family eventually moved across the world to a place where I never really fit in, and that only seemed to make me more afraid to celebrate. I probably still had some small celebration for a couple years after that, but the words of that kid and others like him kept creeping in. So from the time I was 12 until my 21st birthday, I don't remember having another birthday with anyone other than my immediate family. And at a certain point, I stopped thinking about it. And look, I get it, nobody's perfect. Even my family, consumed by the stresses of the holidays, has forgotten my birthday a time or two. To this day, I don't know if any but my closest friends even know when my birthday is. It's not like I hide it. If someone asks, I'll tell them, but otherwise I don't really bring it up. Now, some will say that I'm reading too much into this, that a birthday is mostly meaningless, or just a reminder of us having survived another 365.25-day journey around the sun. That any moderately well-adjusted adult would scoff at finding meaning in the date of your birth. And they're wrong, as they are about so many things. Peer-reviewed studies and clinical research shows that early childhood development is significantly impacted by the conditions you grew up in. Annual traditions and celebrations help children understand complex topics like the passage of and perception of time. The research also shows that celebrating birthdays positively impacts a child's social, mental, and emotional well-being, helping them feel important, boosting their self-esteem, and helping their development of self. Hell, even Malcolm Gladwell has an entire chapter in one of his most popular books, Outliers, about this. He discusses the Matthews effect, which shows the effect of cumulative and compounding advantage, specifically related to birth dates in professional sports. All of this is to say that those who dismiss the power of the penny, or the idea that small actions compound over time to have an effect on us, are deliberately ignoring reality. They're looking at the world through a microscope, analyzing individual events and the present action without thinking about the larger context, without thinking about how those actions and thoughts came to be, or where they might lead. But we don't live in a vacuum. Each action, each memory is a penny in the jar of our life, falling from an unseen height with an unknown weight, which changes the course of our lives in ways we can't see. Each memory, each action, and each subsequent reaction to future events are changed based around those experiences. And that chain reaction continues to compound throughout our lives, all while we remain oblivious to it. Because of that, I started to subconsciously compare myself to others and became more self-conscious. They led me to alter my behavior and how I presented myself. I started to pull back the more gregarious version of myself as I lost more confidence. I became more cautious of people, which made it harder for me to make new connections and friendships. My introversion, my issues of anxiety, my self-doubt, my imposter syndrome, a constant drive towards perfectionism, my depression, my fear of judgment, etc. All of these things are linked, at least in part, to the silly little date of my birth. Earlier I said I had 2 meaningful birthdays. The second was when I really made a change.
This one lesson you must learn. First you pillage, then you burn on your birthday.
Back in 2010, I took an amazing solo trip through Australia and New Zealand. And while I won't get into the details of that particular adventure, it was an amazing 17-day solo adventure through 2 of the most magical countries on the planet. I returned home on Christmas Eve and, as usual, spent the holidays with my family. But because of my incredible experiences in the weeks prior, I noticed that I was much happier than I usually was. I wasn't burdened by the usual depressing thoughts or the lack of self-worth at not completing my incredibly lofty goals. I found myself smiling, happily reflecting on the experiences of what I'd accomplished and what this life-changing trip had inspired me to do. And my birthday passed with little fanfare as per usual. But when I went back to school, a girl I'd liked found out that I'd turned 21 over the holiday break and that I'd neither celebrated nor did I plan on celebrating. She was shocked. Being one of the normal, well-adjusted people with a birthday during a normal time of the year, she strongly encouraged me to celebrate, to go to a bar, get hammered, and do the usual 21-year-old things, which of course I'd never done before. Initially, I'd resisted the idea, as all the terrible memories of my previous birthday experiences and that nagging lack of self-worth flooded my mind. However, something about that trip had changed me. I felt more bold than I had in a long time, so I agreed to celebrate, but it would be on my terms. I took inspiration from my trip abroad and my love of Tolkien and decided that I'd celebrate a Hobbit holiday. A Hobbit's birthday is somewhat inverted from the usual birthday tradition. A birthday boy or girl gives gifts to the guests, so being freshly 21, I purchased a bunch of booze for the party. Over the course of the night, we hung out at my place. We had a great time, and I thanked my close friends for their friendship with increasingly slurred speech, of course, but that was it. No bar, no cake, no extravagant celebration of my existence. Just a fun night spent laughing and hanging out with friends. I honestly don't even remember if we acknowledged that the whole thing was for my birthday. But honestly, I didn't need anything else. That was the first time that I was really aware that I could make a birthday that didn't conform to everything everyone else already knew. But in steering away from the traditional birthday, it allowed me to remove myself from my previously terrible experiences and identify parts of the birthday tradition which I enjoyed. Hanging out with friends, that was being with people that I liked and people that liked me. My birthday became less about celebrating myself and more about a way to celebrate my friendships. By doing that, it took the onus off of me. It meant that I didn't need to battle my inner demons and insecurities, or that little that was munching on cake. This simple little mind shift freed me from my past, and it was the start of something new.
Just be glad the friends you've got haven't found out you know what.
Now, one of the express goals of this series, beyond identifying the small things or pennies that build up over time to change the course of our lives, is what we can do with that information. Understanding the potentially harmful and hurtful behaviors or patterns we unknowingly fall into is a great start. But the more important part is being able to change our behavior. That's because to really change, the first and probably hardest part requires a genuine reflection and a willingness to admit our faults, to admit to being wrong. The second is being able to move beyond the shame that comes with that recognition, to recognize the harmful thought patterns and behaviors that we've fallen into. So many people are not able or too exhausted to consider anything beyond their personal experiences or biases. And the final thing is try to better ourselves. Many of the negative thought patterns and behaviors that we carry become a poison in our systems, ones that seep out into the world around us and affect them as much as they do us. It's self-defeating and short-sighted, and it forces people to continue walking the same obstructed, angry path they've been on for most of their lives. So finding these pennies, finding these patterns, and actively altering our behavior will start a chain reaction that will improve our lives. And you don't need to be perfect to start this journey. I'll admit that I still don't enjoy birthdays in the same way as others do. I will always hold a somewhat negative connotation towards birthdays, based around my previous experiences. However, I can and do recognize the power and influence birthdays have on our lives. And I hope that one day I'll enjoy birthdays in the same way that others do. If you love your birthday, please understand that I'm not trying to yuck your yum. I'm genuinely happy for you. But in the increasingly stressful and polarizing world we live in, this lack of understanding and lack of empathy leads many to completely dismiss anyone and anything that they don't 100% match with. As we grow, we become more capable of understanding the whys of our lives that escape us if we're surrounded by anger and bitterness. We should always be striving to build a better world. If you can start down that path, you'll be surprised by how much better your life can get. But that's just me. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. How do you feel about your birthday? If you love it, why do you love it? If you hate it, why do you hate it? How might your previous birthday experiences have impacted you or your life without you knowing it? With that said, thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far and enjoyed the video, please consider giving us a like and subscribing. It really helps us out. Thanks so much, and see you soon.